You've made a fool of me, but broken dreams and... Hey, woman, you're blue because you've got no one else to use. I switched the radio to a late-night talk show about Bigfoot and UFOs. I was tired of hearing the same song repeatedly over the past few hours. Why? It reminded me too much of the woman I left. Actually, I didn't just leave. I ran away. Let me start from the beginning. I'm Stan Shipman, married to Lucy Dalton for 5 years. We were high school sweethearts and got married right after graduation, thinking we were soulmates. Big mistake. I'm a welder, a trade I learned from my father and have been doing since I was a kid. After high school, I quickly earned my welding certificate and started working, earning good money, even doing underwater welding. I made enough to pay for Lucy's college, and now she's a paralegal at a law firm downtown, so why am I running? It's because of Lucy and her friend. Lucy was sweet and bright when we were younger, but things changed. I loved her and happily paid for her college, surprising her parents by doing it without debt. But after she started working at McMaster and Fredericks, things went downhill. Her female coworkers influenced her badly, and she began going to parties with them. At first, it was just Wednesday nights, but then it became Wednesdays and Fridays, which ruined our date nights. When I reminded her, she insisted on going out with her friends and suggested we could go out on Saturdays instead. Her late nights got worse, and she wouldn't answer my calls, always going to voicemail. Finally, I had enough, so I sat Lucy down to talk one Saturday morning over coffee. "We need to talk," I said. "About what?" she asked. "Your Friday night parties. We used to have date nights, but now you're out until almost 4 in the morning. What's going on? I hardly see you." "I just go out with the girls from work to relax and have a few drinks," she said. "Sometimes we dance." "These clubs close by 1 a.m. Are you seeing someone else?" I asked. "No," she sighed. "We sometimes go out to eat afterward." "But until 4 in the morning?" I pressed. "Sometimes," she admitted. "This needs to stop. You're either my wife or their friend." "I feel like you're taking advantage of me," I said. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'll stop going out on Fridays if you want." "I think that's a good idea," I said. "We can spend time together." She agreed and went to shower. While she was away, I installed a phone tracker on her phone for my peace of mind. Things were fine for a few weeks, but she soon returned to her old habits. I used the tracker to find out where she was. After work on Friday, I cleaned up and headed to the bar where she and her friends were. I spotted her with a group, chatting closely with a guy. They didn't notice me until I was right at their table. "What do you want?" the guy asked. "I just got home from work and decided to grab a beer," I said, surprising Lucy. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your friends?" Lucy looked embarrassed. "Everyone, this is Stan, my husband. Stan, this is everyone." "Hello, everyone," I said sarcastically, noticing she wasn't wearing her wedding ring. "I took the rings off so I wouldn't lose them," she explained. "Sure," I thought. The guy next to her stood up and introduced himself as Jake Rollins. "We work together a lot," he said with a smirk, trying to intimidate me with a handshake. I squeezed his hand harder until he felt pain. "I was just about to ask your wife to dance, if you don't mind," he said. "Is that true?" I asked Lucy. She nodded. I saw it as a chance to find out more, so I said, "Go ahead. But remember, she's my wife, and I'll be watching." As Lucy stood to dance, I took Jake's seat and ordered a beer. Most of the others had already left. "You don't own her, you know," the girl next to me said as I waited for my beer. "And you are?" I asked. Marie Compton. I've been mentoring Lucy at work." "So, Marie, why do I need advice from you?" I asked. "I'm Lucy's friend and mentor. The partners at the firm have big plans for her," she said smugly. I didn't like her attitude. "I never said Lucy belongs to me, but I am her husband. If something affects our marriage, I need to know. Stan, Lucy needs to expand her horizons. All she knows is college and you. She needs to spread her wings." "Spread her wings? Anything else she needs to spread?" I asked. No need to be rude, but yes, there are probably other things she needs to experience. You'll benefit in the long run." "How?" I asked. "Maybe she'll learn something she can bring home to you," Marie said. "You probably pick up new skills when you work, right?" "No, Marie. I go to work, do my best, get paid, and come home. I love Lucy and wouldn't hurt her or our marriage." "Maybe you need to broaden your horizons," she said with a smirk. "I take my wedding vows seriously," I said. "I believe Lucy does too. I don't see a ring on your finger. Ever been married?" "A couple of times," she replied. "Let me guess. Your husband's caught you cheating?" I asked. She shrugged. "Yeah, so?" I do what I want. Well, Lucy's busy, and I expect you to respect that, I said. She chuckled. Yeah, you keep thinking that. Just then, Jake and Lucy returned from the dance floor. I stood up so Lucy could sit between me and Marie, blocking Jake from sitting next to her. So, Lucy tells me you're a welder, Jake said. How much do welders make? $15 an hour? More like $35 an hour or more for underwater work. Didn't Lucy tell you? I paid for her college tuition, I said. So you're paying her student loans? He asked. No, I paid her tuition up front. I also bought her a new Toyota, I said. Damn, I didn't know welders made that much. I must be in the wrong business. Bet you get a lot of women on the side when you're out of town, huh? He asked. No, I work 16-hour days when I'm away. Like I told Marie, I take my wedding vows seriously, I said. Sure you do, Jake said smugly. I was getting annoyed. I turned to Lucy. Did you drive here? Yes, she replied. Good. I've had enough fun for tonight. I'm heading home. I expect you to come with me. As I got up, I accidentally spilled a cold beer onto Jake's lap. Oops, sorry, you should go home and change. He looked furious and seemed ready to fight. Go ahead, I said. He saw the look in my eyes and backed off. Smart move, I turned to Lucy. Are you coming? I'm right behind you, she said quietly. I noticed Marie glaring at me. I walked out without looking back. Lucy arrived home a few minutes after me. I grabbed a beer and waited for her in the living room. She barged in, her face red. What the hell was that? She demanded. You embarrassed me. Did I? I replied. Are you following me? She asked. I shook my head. No, I just wanted a beer and was surprised to see you with work friends, I said, realizing I had lied to her for the first time. I felt embarrassed. Imagine how I felt seeing you take off your wedding ring. Like you were ashamed to be married to me, right? Her face softened, and she sat next to me. Of course not, she said. I work with these people, especially Jake. Anne Marie? I asked. What's her role? She's above me. She mentors me at work. Does that include spousal advice? I asked. What do you mean? While you were dancing, she said you need to expand your horizons. Be honest, have you been cheating on me? No, she said, avoiding eye contact. I wondered if she was lying. You know, I can't forgive that, I told her. Marie said you might cheat while you're away, Lucy said. Do you think I do? No, she said quietly. I've never cheated and never will. I love you too much. When I'm away, I'm too busy working. I know, she said. I've seen your payroll. You paid for my college, bought my car, and covered our bills. I've been saving for a house down payment. Marie's advice is nonsense. You didn't like her, did you? Lucy asked. No, I don't trust her or Jake. Did you know she's been divorced twice for cheating? Lucy looked shocked. How do you know that? She told me. I think they're up to something and trying to drag you down. You haven't done anything wrong, have you? No, Stan, I haven't. Then what? I like going out with them, she admitted. I like being with you, I said. Can you start spending more time with your husband? Sure, she said, hugging me. I'm sorry. It's okay, I told her. I've always wanted 3 things: to be married to you, to be the best welder, and to have a family with you. She smiled. Well, you've got the first 2. Do you want to work on the 3rd? I smiled back. Let's go. We ran to the bedroom and spent the night making love. Things seemed to settle down for another couple of months. Lucy stayed home on Fridays, and I made an effort to be more attentive and loving. I deliberately stopped mentioning Marie or Jake because I trusted Lucy would do the right thing. Then it happened. One Friday night, I came home to find the house dark, with only a few candles lit on the dining room table. The aroma of lasagna drifted from the kitchen, and I assumed Lucy had prepared something special. I walked into the dining room and saw our best china on the table. Turning around, I saw her, my beautiful wife. Do you like what you see? She asked. I nodded. I'm glad, she said. Tonight is going to be special. Why? I asked. It's a surprise, she replied. Go get cleaned up and then sit down while I finish dinner. I went into the bedroom, washed up, and changed into my work clothes. By the time I returned to the dining room, Lucy had already served the lasagna and poured us each a glass of wine. I loved Lucy's cooking, especially her lasagna, always covered in cheese and filled with meat and mushrooms. I don't know what's more tempting, you or the lasagna, I said as I sat down at the table. She giggled. Well, I hope you enjoy both tonight, she said with a smile. I dug into the lasagna, which was delicious as always. Once I finished, I started feeling a bit strange. I tried to stand up, but felt so dizzy that I nearly fell over. I looked at Lucy in confusion. What had she done? I wondered. I tried to speak, but it was incredibly difficult. What? I started to say, but the next moment I collapsed to the floor. When I finally came to my senses, I found myself tied to a chair in our bedroom. My hands were strapped to the chair's arms, and my feet were strapped to its legs. What the hell just happened? I asked myself. Anger surged through me, and I screamed, "Lucy, what the hell is going on?" A few minutes later, Lucy walked into the bedroom, but she wasn't alone. Marie was with her. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. "Get me out of this chair now." "I'm sorry, honey," Lucy said. Marie thought this was the best way. "Best way for what?" I demanded. "So you can see your wife expand her horizons," Marie said calmly. "Was it your idea to tie her to this chair?" I asked. "Of course it was," Marie replied. "And you agreed to this?" I asked Lucy. "Do you know what this means?" "I'm sorry," Lucy said. But Marie insisted it was the only way out. "Believe me, it won't affect us. I still love you, and I've never fantasized about this." "Yes, it does affect us. I told you I wouldn't tolerate cheating. And what the hell is this thing you put on me?" I asked. "I swear to God," I said to Lucy, "I never fantasized about this. If you don't untie me from this chair and get this thing off me right now, we're done." "Please don't do this," Lucy begged. "It's just one night. I'll let you go when we're finished." I shook my head. "You're not that stupid, Lucy," I told her. "Let me go right now." Then two men entered and started doing it to my wife. She eventually let me go, but I immediately got dressed and went to the phone. "What are you doing?" she asked as I dialed emergency. I may be a welder, but I'm not stupid. I knew what she and her accomplices were doing was highly illegal, and I intended to see them in jail that very night. Lucy panicked when she realized I had called the police to report a ravishment with unlawful restraint. I grabbed her cell phone to prevent her from calling Marie and took my keys from her purse to stop her from leaving. She tried to snatch the phone and keys from me, but I wrestled them away and put them in my pocket. After finishing the call, I sat down and waited for the cops, knowing they'd want to examine me and collect fluid samples for evidence. "Please don't press charges," Lucy pleaded. "I don't want to go to jail." "Trust me, it's the safest place for you right now," I said. "You can get dressed. The cops will be here any minute." "You heard what Jake and Marie said," Lucy warned. "They're serious. You don't want to mess with them." "Get dressed," I told her. Lucy saw the look on my face and realized it was best not to push me. She quietly got dressed, and I felt her phone buzzing in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a text from Marie. "Is everything okay?" read Marie's message. "Everything's fine," I replied. "He's not too happy, but he'll get over it." I sent the message, hoping Marie would buy the deception. I put the phone back in my pocket. By the time Lucy walked into the front room, the police had arrived. I opened the door and let them in. One look at my face was enough to know things were bad. One officer took my statement while another talked to Lucy in the bedroom. The officer who took my statement called an ambulance and took swabs from my face, placing them in evidence bags. The second officer returned, and they conferred at the front door for a few minutes before coming back. When they returned, the second officer went into the bedroom and came out with Lucy, her hands behind her back, crying. "Please don't let them arrest me," she begged. "This was just supposed to be fun." I shook my head and turned away. By then, 2 more police cars and an ambulance had arrived. A policewoman appeared in the doorway and took Lucy away. The policeman who took my statement said she was under arrest. "We'd like to have you checked out at the hospital," he told me. "The more evidence we have against the people who did this, the better. You should probably sign a protective order as well," he added. He handed me a card with the name of an attorney from the local prosecutor's office and a phone number. "I already called her, and she said she'd meet you at the hospital," he told me. I thanked him and left with the paramedics who did a cursory examination on the way to the hospital. In the emergency room, they examined me, took samples of the substance on my face, washed me, and took blood and urine samples. I was given some painkillers that were starting to relax me when a well-dressed woman walked into the exam room. "Stan Shipman?" she asked. I nodded. "That's me," I said. "Mr. Shipman, I'm Linda Calloway," she said. "I'm the assistant district attorney assigned to your case. How are you feeling?" "I felt better," I said. "A little tired right now. They gave me something for the pain." "Mr. Shipman, the officers who brought you in informed me of the situation," she said. "I've also been informed that the other woman and the 2 men who assaulted you are in custody and are in the county jail awaiting a hearing. I'm requesting that they not be released on bail, but they will likely be released on their own recognizance." The company they work for has a lot of influence in the county. That's why I've taken it upon myself to seek a protective order for you. Thank you for that, I said. Do you think it will help? She shrugged. I can't say for sure, she said. It might, but there's no guarantee. I nodded. I understand, I said. If it's any consolation, they'll be in a cell at least until Monday morning when their arraignment hearing takes place, she said. I understand, I said. I'm just an ordinary working man with no friends in high places. When it comes to fighting, I'll be alone. You have me, Mr. Shipman, she said with a hint of reproach. As long as you don't do anything stupid. But you might want to hire a divorce lawyer unless you plan to stay married to your wife. No, I'm done with her, I said. She nodded understandingly. I'm told you'll be kept overnight for observation, she said. And that's good. Since your apartment is now a crime scene, they'll need time to go through everything and gather evidence. By the way, do you have a weapon? I shook my head. No, I don't own one, I told her. Good, she said. Just so you know, we have lock laws in our state, so you can defend yourself in your own home. I'll keep that in mind, I said. The next morning, after breakfast, my parents visited. They sat quietly as I explained everything. When I finished, my father was furious. What are you going to do, son? He asked. I'm going to divorce her, I said. He nodded approvingly. Good. Is there anything we can do? I need a good divorce lawyer, I said. I know a few, he replied. I'll find someone, and I'll give you a ride home after you're discharged. Thanks, Dad, I said. I'll call you when I'm ready. Get some rest and don't do anything stupid, he added with a smile. We all laughed, and they left after my mom hugged me. Later, Lucy's parents visited. We always got along well, and they were like second parents to me. I told them what happened. You're filing for divorce? Her father asked. Yes, I nodded. I can't live with what she did. I understand. Is there anything we can do? Her mother asked. If Lucy gets out of jail, she'll need a place to stay. The ADA will get a protective order, so she can't stay at the apartment. She can stay with us, her mother offered. Thank you, I said, and they left. The doctor came a couple of hours later, examined me, and deemed me fit for discharge. The nurses began the paperwork. I called my dad, and my parents arrived just as the paperwork was finished. After getting instructions from the nurse, they helped me into the car, and we drove home. My dad helped me to the door, and we said goodbye. Remember, if you need anything, just call, he said. Thanks, Dad, I replied. Inside the apartment, I saw that the police had gone through everything. It would take time to sort it all out. I noticed a message on the answering machine. Dead meat. No introduction, just that. The number was private. The phrase sounded familiar, and I realized it was from a Rocky movie. Someone had recorded it and played it back over the phone. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. I saw a young brunette through the peephole. She was at the club when I first met Jake. I pulled out my cell phone, set the camera to record, and put it back in my pocket. I opened the door with the chain still on. Yes? I asked. Mr. Shipman? She asked quietly. That's me, I replied. I'm Holly Brinkman. I work with your wife. May I come in? Are you alone? I asked. Yes, she replied. I closed the door, removed the chain, and let her in. What can I do for you, Miss Brinkman? I asked. Please call me Holly, she said. Okay, Holly, how can I help you? She handed me a manila envelope. What's this? I asked. Open it, please, she said quietly. I opened it and saw some pictures. I put the envelope on the coffee table and grabbed latex gloves from the kitchen. I didn't want to get my fingerprints on anything. When I looked at the pictures, I was shocked. They showed a man who had passed away. Who is that? I asked. My husband, Brian, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. Did you report it? I asked. Yes, but the police ruled it a self-destruction, she said. How? I asked. You don't understand. The firm we work for has powerful connections. They own most of the police force and several judges, she explained. Did Jake do this? I asked. Maybe he ordered it, she replied. So why are you still working there? I asked. I have no choice, she said. You're not just a legal secretary, right? I asked. Right. They did to us what Jake and Marie did to you. My husband went after Jake and paid the price, she said. So you're just a pawn for the firm? I asked. Yes, I'm available to the lawyers and their clients, she said. What's Marie's role? I asked. She's like a madam, assigning us our tasks, Holly explained. And she added Lucy to her stable? I asked. Yes, she replied. I found a folded piece of paper in the envelope. It was a ransom-style note. Stan Shipman, stand back, or it could be you. Did you read this? I asked. No, it was dropped off at my apartment with a note to deliver it to you, she said. Are you ready to tell the district attorney? I asked. No, I just want to move on. You have no idea how dangerous these people are, she said. How many people at the firm know about this? I asked. Pretty much everyone above middle management, she replied. Thanks for telling me, Holly. I'm sorry about what happened, I said. You're a great guy. Lucy's lucky to have you, she said as she left. The voicemail in this note changed everything. I still planned to divorce Lucy, but these threats escalated the situation. I called Linda and told her about the voicemail in the envelope. She asked me to bring it to her immediately. I decided to leave town for a while. I packed a few days' worth of stuff, some basic welding tools, and called my boss for time off, which he granted. I checked everything one last time, locked the door, and headed to Linda's apartment. She was shocked by the pictures and the note. I showed her the video of Holly's confession. Let me copy this, she said. I handed her my phone, and she copied the video. Then I realized I still had Lucy's phone. I gave it to Linda. Maybe you can find something in here, I said. I'll have our guys look at it. We might need to involve state or federal authorities, she said. What are you going to do? I'm leaving town, I said. Maybe witness protection, she suggested. No, Jake and his cronies would find me, I said. Okay, just let me know where you are, she said. I withdrew as much cash as possible and drove away, constantly checking for followers. The images of that poor man haunted me. I knew I needed to be careful. Late in the afternoon, I stopped at a bus stop and made a phone call, hoping it wasn't too late. Luckily, it wasn't. Yes, said the gruff voice on the other end. Dave, it's Stan, I said. Dave was an old friend. We'd worked different jobs together and got along well. Stan, you old son of a cow, he said. What's going on? I've got a problem and need a place to stay for a couple of days, I said. Sure, buddy. Just bring a couple of six-packs, he said. No problem. See you in a few hours, I said, and we hung up. Feeling better, I headed north, stopping at a convenience store for beer, ice, and cigarettes. Dave smoked, so I thought he'd appreciate it. Dave Brolin, about 15 years older than me, worked with my father. He often stayed with us when working nearby and became like a big brother. His father died from mesothelioma, and his sister Beverly took care of their mother until she passed from stomach cancer. Beverly and I were like siblings, teasing each other, though I never made a move since I was in love with Lucy. Dave married young but divorced after catching his wife with a coworker. He never remarried, but spent most of his time caring for Beverly, who now lived with him. I pulled up to Dave's house around 2:30 a.m., grabbed my stuff, and met Dave on the porch. Hope you have some beer, he said, taking the cigarettes I offered. He helped me carry my stuff inside. In the kitchen, I saw a beautiful blonde in a long t-shirt and shorts coming down the stairs. Who's that blonde bombshell? I asked. Dave laughed. You know who I am, dunce, she replied. It was Beverly, looking nothing like the gangly teenager I remembered. Beverly? Is that really you? I asked, confused. You know it is, idiot, she said. Why are you here so early? Did Lucy kick you out? No, not exactly, I said. Beverly's face softened as she saw my bruises. I'm sorry, Stan. What happened? She asked. That's why I'm here, I said. Grab a beer and explain, said Dave. I nodded, grabbed 3 beers, and headed to the front room. I handed one to Dave and turned to Beverly. Are you sure you're old enough to drink? I asked sarcastically. She smiled, raising her middle finger, and took the beer. Spill it, she said. I told them the whole story about Lucy, Marie, and Jake, and showed them the video of my encounter with Holly. They sat in stunned silence. Crap, Dave said. Do you think they know where you are? I don't think so. I haven't seen any cars following me, I said. Luckily, we're at the top of the hill and can see anyone coming. I still have the weapon I bought from your father. You remember how to shoot, right? Dave asked. Yeah, but I haven't touched a weapon since Mikey's accident, I said. Years ago, my younger brother Mikey accidentally shot himself in the leg. My father was so upset he got rid of all his weapons. It's all right, Dave said. I'll take you to the backyard to practice. Bev can help too. She's quite a marksman. I looked at Beverly in surprise, and she smiled slyly. Does your dad know you're here? Dave asked. No, I haven't told anyone, but I have to inform the ADA. I didn't plan on coming here until I was already gone, I said. Okay, Dave said. I'll call your parents in the morning. Don't use your cell phone. In fact, turn it off and remove the battery in case it has a beacon. Good idea, I said, turning off the phone and removing the battery. So, Lucy and her friends are appearing before a judge on Monday? Beverly asked. Yes, the arraignment is Monday. The prosecutor hopes they'll be denied bail, but after what Holly said, I'm not sure. You can stay here as long as you need, Dave said. I'll be gone for a week starting Monday, but you can hang around. I was planning on 2 weeks, I said. Hopefully it'll be settled by then. Stay as long as you want, Dave said. Thanks, I appreciate it. Let me know if I can help with anything. Dave looked at Beverly and smiled. Bev might think of something, but you're a guest, so relax and enjoy the country air. Well, I need to get up soon to make breakfast, Beverly said, standing. Hope you like scrambled eggs and hash browns. Sounds great, I said. She waved and went upstairs. After her door closed, Dave and I went outside for a cigarette. What's her story? I thought she was married with kids, I asked. She never met anyone she cared about, Dave said. She dated, but no one fit. Didn't fit with what? With you, nitwit. She's always had a crush on you. No way. Absolutely. She never told you because of Lucy. She didn't want to cause a breakup. Are you serious? Like a heart attack, she still loves you. I've heard her use an adult toy named Little Stan and call your name. Too much information, I said. Dave smiled. It is what it is. When did Beverly turn into a babe? She's always been pretty. You just had eyes for Lucy. Yeah, I remember. Look, I'd be okay with you two being together. Just don't break her heart. It would destroy her if you and Lucy made up. I'm done with Lucy, I said. Good. I'll see you in the morning. He tossed his cigarette and went upstairs. I finished mine and went to bed, falling asleep quickly. I woke up to Beverly calling me. It was 8:30. After my morning routine and a quick shower, I dressed and went downstairs. I took off my wedding ring and tossed it on the dresser. In the kitchen, Beverly was making breakfast, looking adorable. I wondered why I hadn't noticed her before. Smells good, I said. She smiled. Glad you think so, cowboy. Coffee's ready if you want some. Do you still like butter pecan creamer? Of course. Do you have some? I asked. Yeah, it's in the fridge. Just save some for Dave and me. I poured a cup and added the creamer. My dad got Dave hooked on it when he brought some to the construction site. Have a seat, she said with a smile. I'll be right with you. I sat at the table where Dave was reading the Sunday paper. Good morning, I said. Good morning, he replied. Anything interesting in the news? I asked. Yeah, some fancy lawyer got arrested, he said, handing me the article. The article was vague, with no names or details. I handed it back as Beverly brought breakfast to the table. Very tasty, I said, taking a big bite. Thank you, kind sir, Beverly replied with a smile. After breakfast, Dave got up and put his plate away. I need to go into town for a few things. I'll be gone a couple of hours. If you need to call the DA, use the house phone, he said. Thanks, I replied. Beverly handed him a list, and he headed out. I looked at Beverly. Need help with the dishes? I asked. I'd appreciate it, she replied. I helped her clear the table. She tossed me a towel and started washing. I see you're not wearing your ring. Are you really going to divorce her? She asked. Yes, I won't tolerate cheating, I said. Good. Glad to see you still have balls, she said with a slight smile. What's your story? How are you doing? I asked. Okay, I guess, she said. Anyone special in your life? I asked. There was once, but he was taken away. Besides, I was busy taking care of my parents. That's what I heard, I said. Yeah, after Dad died, Mom needed help. I worked as a waitress until she got sick, then took care of her full time. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. Don't be. I don't regret it. I just hope someone will be there for me when I'm her age. So what happened after? I asked. After Mom died, we sold the house and most of her stuff to pay for her expenses. Dave let me stay here. He promised Mom he would. He offered to pay for my college, but I refused. Why? I want to succeed on my own. I work at McDonald's and take business courses in the evenings. Good for you, I said. Yeah, Dave wants to start a fabric business and I'll do the bookkeeping. Is he still talking about it? I asked. Yes, he does custom grills, trailers, and other things. His dream is to work from home in his backyard shop. Maybe he can show it to me while I'm here, I said. That would be great, she replied. We fell silent, and I found myself admiring her for the first time, realizing her beauty went beyond appearance. She looked at me before saying anything. What are you looking at? She asked. I'm looking at the most beautiful woman I've ever met, I said. She looked down, a tear forming in her eye. Stop teasing me, she said quietly. I'm not teasing. I admire you. You put your life on hold for your parents, refused Dave's help for college, and now you're working on your own. I'm just sorry I didn't see it sooner. You were blindsided by Lucy. I can't blame you, she said. Yeah, you're right, I admitted. After she finished rinsing the dishes, she wiped her hands and turned to me. She used you, Bev said. I think you're right, I replied. I saw through her years ago, she said. Why didn't you say anything? I asked. You wouldn't have believed me, she said. She was probably right. I just wanted her to be happy, I said. And look where that got you, she remarked. She got everything she wanted from you and then moved on. I'm glad she's in jail. If she were here now, I don't know what I'd do. I believe you, I said. One thing, she said, hands on her hips. Are you going to take her back? I shook my head. No, that ship has sailed. Good. And if you ever doubt, remember this. We made love. We'd better clean up before Dave gets back, she said. I have some meat to prepare for tonight, so why don't you take a quick shower? I'll be up soon. Okay, I said. What's with the meat? We like to barbecue on Sundays. You like venison, right? Yes, I love venison, I said, but I haven't had it in years. Good. I shot it myself with Dave's .50 caliber flintlock. Dressed it in the field, too. You're amazing, I said. Did you load it yourself? Of course. A patched round ball with 100 grams of double F powder. I even molded the bullet myself. Damn, I said. Do you like fishing too? She smiled. I love fishing. I bait my own hooks and clean the fish myself. Is there anything you haven't done? I asked sarcastically. I haven't rebuilt the gearbox in Dave's truck yet, but I helped with the engine. I'm definitely in love. No time for that now, she said. Wait until tonight. You'll be sleeping with me. My bed is bigger. Won't Dave be upset? I asked. No, we're both adults. I need to call the DA and let her know where I am, I said. Bev pointed to the cordless phone. Use that phone, she said. I called, almost forgetting it was long distance. Linda picked up after the second ring. Linda Calloway, she said. Linda, it's Stan Shipman, just letting you know where I am. Stan, thank God you called. I was worried. Where are you? At an old family friend's house. I turned off my cell phone for safety. Good. I'll keep you updated. The feds are looking into your wife's firm. I also talked to a top divorce attorney for you. I hope you don't mind. No, I don't mind, I said. Good, Linda replied. She's expecting a call from you tomorrow. I told her a bit about your situation. If anyone can handle it, she can. Thanks, I said. I'll call her. Linda gave me the information and promised to update me on the hearing. By then, Dave had returned, and I helped him with the groceries. I called your folks. They were worried, but I told them you'd be staying with us, he said. Thanks, I replied. That night, we barbecued and had dinner on the patio. After dinner, Dave and I grabbed a beer and smoked while Beverly finished cleaning up. Bev said you're sleeping in her room, Dave said. For how long? I think so, I said, feeling a bit awkward. Do you love her? He asked. Yes, I do, I replied. Good. You should have realized it sooner. Bev can take care of herself, but I don't want her hurt. I would never hurt her, I said. I'm glad to hear that. Welcome to our family, he said, shaking my hand. Just don't keep me up all night. I laughed. I'll try. That night, after Bev and I made love, I held her and thought about our future. I felt more content than I had in a long time. What are you thinking about? She asked quietly. The future, I replied. Huh? She asked. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? I asked. I don't aspire to a high-powered career. I just want a faithful husband who loves me and a family to take care of, she said. What about your classes? I asked. That's mostly for Dave, she said. When he starts his business, he'll need help. What do you want out of life? I want a faithful wife who loves me as much as I love her and a family of my own. I thought I had that with Lucy, but it didn't work out. What about your job? She asked. I like it. Sometimes it takes me away for a couple of weeks. Can you handle that? She laughed. My brother's a welder like you. I know what to expect. I can handle it as long as I know you'll come home to me. I wish I'd met you before Lucy, I said. Me too, she said. But we'll get through this together. We're a team. I'll always be there for you. I love you, I said, kissing her. I love you even more, she said, hugging me. I fell asleep feeling truly loved. The next day, Beverly got up early, made breakfast, and got ready for work. On her way out, she kissed me and said she had school that evening. I'll be home by 9:30. You guys will have to manage on your own, she said. Remember, I love you." "I love you too," I said, returning her kiss. "What about me?" asked Dave with a smile. Beverly laughed and gave him a peck on the cheek. "Stay out of trouble, okay?" she said as she left. "I need to call that divorce lawyer Linda recommended," I said, glancing at my watch. Dave pointed to the phone, and I called Bernice Goodwin's office. "Goodwin," said the receptionist. I introduced myself and asked for Bernice. "Miss Goodwin is expecting your call." "One moment, please." After a brief hold, Bernice answered. "Bernice Goodwin, how can I help you?" "This is Stan Shipman. Linda Calloway recommended you." "Yes, Mr. Shipman. Linda told me some of your situation. Normally, I prefer private meetings, but I understand that's not possible. We can do this online. Please tell me your story." I explained everything, and she listened patiently. "What are your expectations?" she asked. "I want as much as I can get. No alimony and my share of our assets." "We can do that. Your wife's criminal charges should help. Do you own any property?" "No, we live in an apartment." "What about suing Marie and Jake?" "Do what you think is right," I said. "Okay, I'll need to see your financial records. Do you have an email address?" "Yes," I said. "I'll send you some documents to sign and a checklist. I also need payment in advance. Can you do that today?" "Yes," I said. "Good. I'll send everything to you. Any questions?" "No questions," I said. I gave her my email address, and she transferred me to her assistant, who took my credit card information. After the call, I turned on my laptop and checked my email. Bernice had sent 2 documents. I electronically signed the contract and sent it back with a receipt. The other document was advice on protecting myself financially. Thanks to online banking, I opened a new account and transferred half of our savings into it. I paid off and canceled Lucy's credit card, but kept mine open for the fee. By the time I finished, it was past noon. Dave drove me to his store where he was working on a trailer for a local farmer. I joined him, finding the work relaxing. Around 3 p.m., we received a call. Dave, using an extension cord, handed the receiver to me. "It's your lawyer," he said. "Stan here," I said, picking up the phone. "Linda Calloway," she said. "Bad news. The judge set minimum bail and released them." "How?" I asked. "Probably on their payroll," she said. "The protective order is in effect, but it's weak. Stay put and avoid town. The feds are watching them, but I can't ensure your safety." "Great," I said. "What now?" "Stay put," she repeated. "I'll handle things here. Call if you need anything." "Okay," I said. We ended the call, and I handed the phone to Dave. "Bad news?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "The judge released them." "Damn," he said. "I'll call your folks." "I should do that," I said. Dave nodded and gave back the phone. I dialed, and my dad answered on the second ring. "Dad, it's Stan," I said. "How are you?" he asked. "I'm fine," I replied. "The judge released Lucy and her friends. Be cautious, they might come looking for me." "Don't worry," he said. "We won't say anything. Are you at John Harrison's?" The question surprised me. John was a retired co-worker who lived 2 hours south. I realized Lucy might be there now. "I'm at a motel about 50 miles south," I said. "Okay," he said. "Stay safe." "I will. I'm leaving in the morning. Let me know where you are." "Sure," he said. "Mom's in the bathroom. Tell her I'm okay and love her." "Will do," he said. "We'll talk soon." "Absolutely, Dad," I said. "Love you." "Love you too, son," he said. Before hanging up, I called Linda again. "Lucy and her friends might be at my parents' house," I told her. "I'll get federal agents there right away. Stay put," she said. I handed the phone to Dave. "What's up?" he asked. "I think Lucy is at my parents' house," I said. "I heard. Do you think they'll buy your story?" "I hope so, at least for a few hours. If they head to John's, I need to find a new hiding spot." "No," Dave said. "We're in this together. Stay put. I'll talk to the sheriff. Don't go anywhere." I nodded. A couple of hours later, he left the house and headed into town. After he left, Linda called back. "Stan, you were right," she said. "Lucy, Marie, Jake, and a couple of their goons showed up after the hearing. They tied up your folks and threatened them. They claimed they wouldn't reveal your whereabouts. We've issued an APB on them. They left one of their thugs here, and he's in custody now. Of course, he's not talking." "Do you know where they're headed?" I asked. "No, I don't. But I don't think they believed your story," she said. "Here, talk to your dad." A few seconds later, my dad was on the phone. "Stan, I don't think they bought that ruse," he said. "Are you guys okay?" I asked. "Yeah, we're fine right now. But I think Lucy and her friends are headed your way," he said. "What makes you think that?" I asked. "I overheard Lucy talking," he said. "Good," I said. Let Linda know to get the sheriff down here. I will, son, he said. Be careful, you hear? I will, Dad, I said. The next voice on the phone was Linda's. Where are you located? She asked. I told her where I was and gave her directions. Do you think Lucy knows where this is? She knows, I said. Good, Linda said. Stay where you are. We'll send someone as fast as we can. We finished talking, and I headed toward the house. As I was leaving the store, I heard a familiar voice. It was Jake. Gee, he said. Thought you could outsmart us, huh? Nice try telling your parents you're going south when really you're up north. Lucky for us, Lucy knew that's where you were going. Now move. He waved the weapon around. Get in, he said, pointing to a black SUV. I climbed into the back seat and saw Lucy smirking at me. Thought you could outsmart us, huh? She asked with a smirk. It's not going to end well for you, Lucy, I said. The cops will be here soon enough. Never mind, she said. It'll be too late for you. You should have just accepted the program. Now you're going to pay for it. Marie and Jake giggled. Jake instructed us to take them to a place along the creek bed at the bottom of the hill. So, you're planning to destroy me, right? I asked Lucy. She laughed. You know what they say. Dead men tell no tales, she said. Jake and Marie laughed. Why? I asked her. Why did you do that? She shrugged. What can I say? She asked rhetorically. He's richer than you. Besides, I don't want to be married to a welder for the rest of my life. I want the good life, and Jake can give it to me. Are you two done reminiscing? Asked Jake. We have things to do, and it's getting late. I'm sure you know what happens next, old boy, he said. Don't worry. Then I heard a rifle shot and 2 more shots. Lucy looked around, frightened, and tried to take cover behind Jake. In the background, I heard the distinctive sound of a 4-wheeler approaching. I tried to see who it was, but all I could see was a cloud of dust coming closer. Then it was upon us, and I could see long blonde hair streaming behind the driver. I knew it was Beverly. She stopped the 4-wheeler and jumped off, holding a hunting rifle. Once free, I sat back and watched her run up to Lucy. Don't you dare touch my man again, yelled Beverly. Do you understand me? Lucy slowly nodded. Sirens wailed in the distance. So Beverly walked over to the 4-wheeler and pulled out a flare weapon. She pointed it into the sky and fired a flare to signal the cops. Soon we saw flashing lights heading our way. Are you okay, honey? She asked, walking over to me. I am now, I replied. You saved my life. I'll never be able to repay you for that. Trust me, you'll have the rest of your life to make it up to me, she said with a smile. Soon we were surrounded by police cars. Dave pulled up in his truck and got out to check on us. One of the deputies called for an ambulance and a medical examiner. Are you okay? Asked Dave, coming up to us. I am now, thanks to Bev, I said. She saved my life. The sheriff took our statements and supervised the operation. By then, the ambulance had arrived, and the paramedics were tending to Marie and Lucy. She destroyed Jake and Ronnie, Marie yelled. Aren't you going to arrest her? No, the sheriff said. This is Dave's property, and the Fortress Doctrine applies here. Miss Brolin had every right to protect Mr. Shipman's life. Consider yourself lucky she didn't destroy you too. As I watched, the sheriff's deputies handcuffed Lucy and led her away. The sheriff informed me that he was charging her and Marie with attempted homicide and conspiracy to commit homicide. After the officers collected evidence and removed the bodies, we were released. I rode the quad bike with Beverly to the house. I thought you had class today, I said. What happened? Dave stopped by McDonald's and told me what happened, she said. I excused myself and came home. I had to make sure you were okay. I saw tire tracks in the grass and followed them to where you were, so I got in the deer stand I had set up. Well, you know the rest. When I saw what Jake was going to do, I just reacted. I'll catch up. Don't worry. I'm not worried, I said. I'm grateful, more than you can imagine. I grabbed my phone and called Linda to let her know what had happened. She was relieved to hear that I was okay. They'll be where we need them after this, she said. Don't worry. The firm is going down and hard. I sure hope so, I said. Afterward, I called my parents to let them know what had happened. They too were happy to hear that things had ended well for us. Marie recovered from her wounds, and she and Lucy went to trial on charges of attempted homicide and conspiracy to commit homicide. They were found guilty and convicted on the charges related to my initial assault and unlawful detention. Both were given life sentences and faced more charges related to the conspiracy and racketeering of the firm. During that time, I only saw them twice. Once when Bev and I were called to testify, and the second time when they were sentenced. Both times they looked terrible, and I couldn't help but smile. The bottom line was that neither of them would ever breathe free air again, and I couldn't have been happier. Meanwhile, Beatrice had secured a divorce, and because of Lucy's convictions, convinced the judge not to give her anything. She also secured a large payout for Marie and Jake's inheritance. By the time she was done, I was in the money. Yes, Bernice got some of it, but I was very happy with my share. The firm also paid a huge sum as the partners faced numerous federal charges, including racketeering and charges related to the mysterious end of lives of 2 other men. By the time all was said and done, the firm was forced to close up shop, and the partners found themselves behind bars for life. All of this happened over about 6 months. By the end, I had more than enough money for Beverly and me to live on for years to come. I bought her a beautiful ring and proposed to her in a dignified way. Getting down on one knee, she squealed and showered me with kisses. A month or so later, we were married and spent a week in Las Vegas. When we got back, we sat Dave down in the living room and proposed to him. His eyes widened when we suggested we start a company called D&S Welding and Custom Fabrications. "Are you serious?" he asked us. "Hell yeah," I replied. Beverly pulled out her spreadsheet and showed him the business plan she had drawn up. After studying it carefully, he leaned back in his chair. "You know, I think this could work," he said. "By the way, I almost forgot," he added and reached into his pocket. He pulled out a bunch of keys and held them out to us. "You know that lot on the south side?" "Yes," Beverly replied. "What's there?" "Did you see the new 2-bedroom house on it?" he asked. "Yes," she answered. "We thought you had sold that lot." "No," he said. "It's your wedding present from me and your parents," he added, looking at me. "It's brand new and equipped with all the latest advances. By the way, the plot and the house are registered in your name. Your dad and I have already moved your stuff from your apartment there, except for the stuff with Lucy's picture on it, of course." "Wow," I said. "I don't even know what to say. Sure, I could afford a custom-built house, but a 2-bedroom house was nice and just as sturdy as a log home. I certainly wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I knew this place had to cost them well over $150,000. "Say thanks, partner," he said, holding out his hand. I smiled and took his hand. We found ourselves in a manly bear hug. "Would you mind if we went down there?" asked Beverly. "I'd hate to see you alone." "I'll be fine," he said. "Besides, I'll finally be able to get a decent night's sleep. I'm getting tired of listening to you moan all night long." We celebrated that night, and I called my parents to thank them for the gift. Later that evening, Beverly and I christened the master bedroom. Yes, I thought, lying in each other's arms. Things are shaping up just right.